made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channel and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Chiropractic Rocks, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority podcast training. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 356 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I am your co-host, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we have the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Sachin Patel. And if you want to understand how to make today a great day, stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Today it's Sachin Patel coming in from Mississauga, Ontario. And my co-host Luke Millette is coming in from Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I myself am coming in from Grand Junction, Colorado. And I'm really excited for this episode. I've been tracking Dr. Sachin for years now. And I've been watching his stuff and sharing his stuff and just really admire his forward thinking and the way he presents logic and reasoning to the people that need it. So before we get going, I just set down some tenets of why we do what we do. The big why behind Chiro Hustle is we do protect free speech in the chiropractic profession. We do protect the sacred trust. And if you guys don't know what those are, go search for them in your favorite search engine. And we do support subluxation-based chiropractors. And we do believe in universal and innate intelligence. So with that being said, Dr. Sachin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Luke. Thanks for having me. I'm super honored and grateful for this opportunity.
Yeah. And I was like, man, I've been following you for a long time, and chiropractic is the base layer of you. So let's tell people the entrance of how Dr. Sachin became who you are today and how you got into the chiropractic profession.
Yeah, great question. So my story actually starts in university, and I almost at the last moment when I applied for university tracks that I wanted to go in was debating between health sciences and computer sciences. So computer sciences was actually where I have some of my strongest background because it's all logic and it just makes perfect sense. And the computer does exactly what you tell it to do. It doesn't complain. It doesn't talk back to you, and it follows instructions. And if it doesn't work, it's something that you can fix very easily. So one of the things that I was debating about is whether I go into the computer science field or if I go into health sciences. And at the last minute, I decided to go into health sciences. And then 3 years in, as a kinesiologist, I had to decide what was my next move going to be. And I looked into dentistry. I looked into medicine. I looked into chiropractic. I looked into physiotherapy and, other healthcare professions. And I realized very quickly that I didn't want to stare in people's mouths all day, even though I loved helping people get out of pain. And I loved the idea of being able to, have a practice, a dental practice, but I didn't like the idea of looking in people's mouths all day and impacting such a small part of them. And the medical philosophy, as wonderful as it is, and as grateful as we all should be that we have a medical system that handles acute care so well, it wasn't something I wanted to do either, because the medical doctors that I knew didn't have the quality of life that I was looking for. And philosophically, the paradigm of allopathic medicine didn't align with me, because I was always into self-care, exercise, eating as healthy as I can and taking good care of myself. And that served me well up until that point. And so chiropractic was something that kind of, came to me not as a secondary or tertiary option, but it was something that was planted in me many, many years ago. And that's one of the reasons I became a kinesiologist, was because I wanted to understand human movement, and what better profession than chiropractic to really explore that opportunity further. So I went to chiropractic school, chiropractic college I went to is New York Chiropractic College, just far away enough, but close enough to where I'm from in Toronto, well, Mississauga now, which is just outside of Toronto. And that served me well. It allowed me to, learn a very, very powerful modality of chiropractic. Also, all the other things that we learn, right? That most people don't realize that chiropractic students learn, like radiology and nutrition, and, dissecting the whole body, right? That's not something that even medical professionals do these days, and looking at the nervous system through this amazing lens. So I became a chiropractor, graduated NYCC, did my externship at a ART-based clinic, an active release therapy-based clinic in Cincinnati, Ohio. And right out of school, I got hired to work there, which was awesome. And then shortly after that, about 2 to 4 years into practice, I learned about functional medicine. And that really changed the course of my personal life, because functional medicine allowed me to work on the elements of somebody that I couldn't see or I couldn't touch. So bringing the chiropractic philosophy of innate intelligence, this beautiful self-healing body that we have, but applying it to the aspects of an individual that, frankly, we can't quite touch or see, became my next journey. And that's where functional medicine came into my life. And combining functional medicine and physical chiropractic care, really transformed me personally, because I could help people in such a profound way, and it transformed the way I practice. And of course, it transformed people's lives.
And now you have this program called the Perfect Practice Mentorship. Maybe you could do a little deeper dive into that and just kind of explain what that is to people.
Yeah, sure. So as I started practicing functional medicine, I realized that, I have this amazing opportunity to help other practitioners, chiropractors, medical doctors, naturopathic practitioners, acupuncturists. I mean, really anyone who comes with an open mind can apply functional medicine into their practices. And the cool thing about that is that as I started, creating success in my practice, sharing that with others, I felt was not just an obligation, but a responsibility that I had, and creating opportunities for practitioners to learn how they can achieve success faster. We're all capable of success, but having a mentor or guide helps us get there a lot faster. And more importantly, that helps us get our message out there to the world much more effectively. So in our mentorship, we basically share everything that we've learned along the way, share the tools that we've picked up along the way, and we've white labeled our practice in a way that other practitioners can implement functional medicine very, very quickly. And our base program actually is really cool, because it's based on the chiropractic principles. It's based on self-care. It's based on healthy mindset, healthy nutrition, healthy environment, all the things that we know our body innately needs. We've created a program based around that. And so through that process, we've minimized supplementation, minimized unnecessary testing and lab work to create fantastic results for people. And it's amazing. The results that we get are unparalleled, and the way we can do it and the speed at which we can do it is amazing, because we tap into the body's innate healing potential, and we equate it to rolling a boulder down a hill. So our clients get amazing results. Our clinicians are then able to mimic those results for their clients, because we've created a whole system, and now their clients get amazing results. And very rapidly, we're changing the landscape through a process that is sophisticated yet extremely simple to apply.
I absolutely am intrigued. So you have a lot of mentees that are working through the program, and a lot of people that have locked arms with you that are going forward with this initiative. So what are you doing to drive in traffic to these offices, doing marketing, and how effective is that for the people that are working with you?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. It's all about how much effort we're willing to put into what we do. So a lot of our clients will gain a ton of traction using organic traffic. And, those that are then maximizing their organic traffic, sharing testimonials, sharing case studies, really standing in their message, they start to see a lot of traffic coming in just from organic outreach. And then from there, they start taking it to the next level, which is paid ads. Some of them will try to stay away from social media because it's not their cup of tea. So then they'll start joining organizations like BNI, local meetups, and they'll also join things like Toastmasters to start becoming better at getting their message out there in the world. There's really two key areas that we focus on. One is relationship capital, because all of us know unhealthy people or people who are trying to be healthy, now that they realize that there's something they want to do or need to do regarding their health. And all of those people know people who are trying to do something about their health. So we really try to leverage relationship capital first as much as we can for our clients, because many of them are just starting out, and they're trying to get their practices off the ground. So who better to start with than people that already know, like, and trust you? And then we encourage them to have a beta group of people go through their program. So our program can actually be delivered in cohorts. So you can have, 10 or 30. I've got like 50 people going through a cohort right now. And those people within the course of 6 weeks become walking billboards for your practice, who then become, amazing ambassadors and raving fans who then refer other people. So we start with the relationship capital, turn that into a beta group, then turn that into referrals and then raving fans and ambassadors. And then from there, we encourage people to start, using paid advertising.
So what are some things that you're doing for your own personal health as well as your family's health too?
Oh, great question. So a couple things. I mean, I'll start with my morning. I think the morning routine that I have on an ideal day is something that I look forward to and something that I think would benefit, it certainly benefits me, and I think it benefit a lot of people. So I always start with gratitude. I use something that BJ Fogg taught me from his book, Tiny Habits, and being friends with him as well. He's if you don't know, he's one of the professors at Stanford University. And he wrote a book called Tiny Habits. And one of his students was a founder of Instagram. Another student of his was a founder of Clubhouse. So, he's the go-to guy in habit change. And so he's got a habit called the Maui habit. And the Maui habit is, as soon as your feet touch the ground every morning, you say, today is going to be a great day. And when you don't think it's going to be a great day, you say, somehow today is going to be a great day. So starting with gratitude is a big piece for me. And I try to hold gratitude in everything that I do and every opportunity that comes my way and be present to it. Another thing that I really focus on is my breath. So throughout the day, I'm focusing on three things: oral posture. So what's the positioning of my tongue? The ideal position of the tongue is at the roof of the mouth, with the tongue gently placed against the roof of the mouth and the tip of the tongue behind the front two teeth. What that does is it puts your body in a more parasympathetic state, causes you to breathe through your nose. When you breathe through your nose, you become parasympathetic versus breathing through your mouth, where you become sympathetic. And in a parasympathetic state and in using nasal breathing, our body heals so much faster and it heals so much more effectively. So our sleep becomes more effective, our thinking becomes more effective, we show up more present wherever we are, and our memory, cognitive function, neocortex access, all of that stuff becomes highly, highly more effective when we are nasal breathing. We also increase something called nitric oxide production. Nitric oxide is antiviral, antibacterial, dilates our blood vessels, so we get more blood flow to the periphery of our brain. Another thing that I do is I try to have some form of movement, whether it's yoga or strength training. Those are two things that I enjoy doing. And I try to incorporate some form of scripture in the morning. So I usually read about 10 to 15 minutes every morning, and I'll try to incorporate scripture, ancient wisdom text like the Bhagavad Gita or the Tao Te Ching. Those are my two favorite books. And if I'm not reading those, then I'm reading something related to building your business or building your brand. Another book that I'm reading right now is by Cameron Herold called Free PR. So, sometimes I'll mix things up a little bit from scripture to business growth is what I love doing. Every morning, I try to get sunlight for at least 10 minutes because that raises dopamine, and dopamine helps us initiate action, helps us stay focused, so we complete the task, and also helps us feel a sense of reward. And then I'm always paying attention as well to my lighting. So lighting is a big thing, as I can tell that both of you know. And paying attention to where the source of the lighting is coming from, whether it's from the ceiling, eye level, or from the floor, is important throughout the day, and the frequency of the lighting that you're using as well. So during the day, you want to use a more fuller spectrum lighting source like the sun, or you can have special bulbs like we do. And in the evening, you want to use more red light coming from the ground up, because that signals our brain to stop making so much cortisol and increases our melatonin production. Big focus for me is really three things. If I had to narrow it down, one would be my breathing. The second thing would be circadian rhythm, and that's primarily guided by our activities and our exposure to different types of lighting throughout the day. And the third one is sleep. So I wear an Oura ring, and the Oura ring tracks my activity. It tracks my sleep, my REM sleep, my deep sleep, my respiratory rate, my resting heart rate, and my HRV.
You've You've made it to Chirohustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Chiropractic Rocks, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority podcast training. Let's hustle. I love all of that. I'm just getting into the breathing stuff, you know. I joined this group, and one of the tenets of the group is to break away 4 times a day and do 3-minute breathing exercises where you just chill out and you breathe and count how many breaths you did in that 3-minute period. And I'm just starting to do it, so I'm kind of a novice to the whole thing. So it's really cool to hear your information on the whole breathing thing, because I know that breath is life.
Yeah, it's so important, so overlooked. Easy to do correctly, and very easy to do incorrectly if we're not conscious about it. And then, just to kind of button up the question, for my family, we eat organic as much as we can. We're all plant-based vegetarians, and then we're gluten and dairy free. So we try to keep our diet really clean as we can. And, we're vegetarian because of our spiritual practice. So, I'm not saying, don't eat meat or eat meat, but that's our personal preference. And, it's been great to be able to apply this to my son. So he's like the first generation of consciously healthy Patels who are, making that, specific effort to being as healthy as we can be.
I love it. And you mentioned circadian rhythm, and people don't understand that the rest and digest is such a integral component, and filling your sleep bank up and putting deposits in that is so important. And they're used to, I still probably think people think this, that the more you work, the less you sleep, the more money you make. I don't think that that's true at all. I think that's the way to burn out and to early death. So if people really wanted to pay attention to anything, not just their bank account, they'd start a sleep bank account, and they would start making a nightly deposit into that thing, to where that eventually they don't go bankrupt on their health.
Yeah. Jeff Bezos, his #1 priority each day is to sleep. And then he says, as a CEO, you're only required to make 3 really good decisions each day. And you're more likely to make good decisions if you got a good night's rest the night before.
Yeah, I can tell a lot in my own behavior when I don't get enough rest, and what it does to me, and how ineffective I am on just doing simple things. So yeah, breathing and sleeping, guys, get that going. So how do you, I know you don't run a brick and mortar at the moment, but how do you like to stay in touch with your local community, or I guess your global community now? What are your favorite avenues?
Yeah, low-hanging opportunity is always Facebook and social media. So that's one place I definitely hang out, is on Facebook, and try to put the message of, reality out there, but also a positive message. And, try to wake as many people as I can to knowing that, they're their own doctor. And that's how it should be. Is our philosophy is that the doctor of the future is the patient. And we want to see more and more people recognizing and realizing that nothing can fix them better than they can fix themselves. Another way is something I'm going to be exploring a little bit more. I used to do community workshops. So every single week I would do a free workshop at a community center. But since COVID and everything, the community centers have been shut down, and now they're starting to open back up. And so that might be another option for us to start doing that again. I love doing webinars. So we do tons of webinars. And then I stay connected in small Facebook groups. We have Facebook groups as well, but small mentorship groups. So I belong to several different mentorships, and that keeps me connected to my community for my own sanity. And then we've got group programs that we do, and where we're connecting with other people as well.
And so how do you see chiropractic growing or changing or developing over the next 20 years or so?
Yeah, that's, what I love about chiropractic is it is so timeless. What worked 100 years ago is going to work 100 years from now, because the human anatomy is not going to change, right? So, we'll continue doing the good work that we do with structural care. I think what's going to happen is it's going to be greater validation of what we do. And now that we have the tools and the technology to measure the subtle changes that take place in people when they start feeling better, then we're going to actually further validate what we've been doing. And every day there's more and more validation for what we do. One of the things I love about giving all my clients an Aura Ring is that it allows us to validate the process. And I see wearable technology being implemented in chiropractic offices so that people for themselves can see, hey, when you came in today versus how you're feeling tomorrow and the day after, we're going to see measurable improvements in things like your HRV. And HRV measures the tone of our nervous system, which is what, as chiropractors, we're trying to affect. We're trying to affect autonomic tone, shifting people into that parasympathetic state. We'll be able to measure that people are sleeping better as a result of doing this. We'll be able to measure that their HRV is improving, their resting heart rate is improving. So we're seeing this with our clients, So what I believe is that I still do chiropractic, but there's several tenets to chiropractic. It's how we eat, move, think, as James Chestnut would say. And so we're working on the think and eat part. We're also working on the lighting, on the breathing, on staying grounded, getting connected with nature, resolving unresolved trauma. And what we see when we do this with people is we see their scores improving. Within days, their scores start to improve. So we know they're getting healthier and moving in the right direction. So I'd love to see, and I foresee this, that wearable technology is really going to transform chiropractic offices in the future. And I also see group programs transforming chiropractic, because chiropractic is not a procedure. In my opinion, chiropractic is a lifestyle. And the reason so many people have chronic issues, chronic inflammation, diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, is because they have a lifestyle disorder. And part of that lifestyle is it creates a deficiency of movement, which creates subluxation and, of course, a lack of mobility in our joints and the structural changes. But it's the whole lifestyle that we need to work on. So I'd love to see chiropractic focus more on that part of its philosophy, where people are getting more than just the physical care, that they're getting the emotional, the biochemical, the nutritional, the mindset, all of that other care that is involved in keeping a human being healthy.
You said some things there, and it makes me want to just transition to something personal. Is I do a lot of community outreach events. I'm go out to health fairs and county fairs and women's expos and stuff like that, and get in a 10 by 10 booth and tell people the story of chiropractic and schedule them into first visit care. And as doing that, the people that break my heart the most are the ones that say, well, if I go to the chiropractor once, I have to go the rest of my life. And I'm like, well, that's a gift. That's the part that you don't see. Like, it's not a bad thing, the way that you're painting this picture, that if I go to the chiropractor once, I'll have to go the rest of my life. And then I say, well, by the way, if you go to the dentist once, back to your original dental conversation, I go, would that be the only time you'd go to the dentist? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, the nervous system is comprised inside of your spinal column that has the vertebrae that, if they're out of alignment, then it's going to cause something to happen in the organ system because it's organized. And if there's a misalignment in that spine, it's going to have a lower ability to heal the body. And I was like, so it's not the fact that you don't have to go the rest of your life. It's the fact that it's a blessing to go for the rest of your life. And I kind of explained to them what cradle to grave care is, or from womb to tomb care is, and that it's a privilege to be seen by a chiropractor. And it's an honor to be able to go in and be checked and have a consultation and evaluation and know what's going on with the human body that they have, to be able to see if there's anything we can get a better quality of life for them. And then that wakes them up. And they're like, wow, so it's not about something that I get like suckered into, that I have to go in and see a practitioner for the rest of my life. It's actually a privilege. And I think that that's something we have to start repositioning into the vernacular and the conversation around what chiropractic is. Because like you said, it's not a thing that you do. It's a part of the life that you live.
Right. 100%. Yeah. And that's, people need to realize that, just like going to the mechanic, right? It's like, if you get an oil change, it's not like you're never going to go back to get an oil change again, or to rotate or maintain your vehicle, rotate your tires or maintain your vehicle. It needs to be part of our life. And especially as sedentary as we've become as a society, we've become movement deficient, just like we've become nutrient deficient. And the number one nutrient for the brain is actually movement. So if our joints and our spine is not moving correctly, then we're actually not sending that proprioceptive signal to the brain and feeding the brain what it needs in order for it to function properly.
Yeah, one of my favorite mentors of mine, Dr. Fred Schofield, he would always tell me, first you crawl, then you walk, then you run. And that's a developmental thing. And that's motion. Life is motion as well as life is breath. And I think that there's so much fundamental that we're discussing today that when people listen to this episode, they're just going to probably wear out 2 to 3 pins with notes that they'll be taking. But as we get into this conversation with you today, which I believe is it's integral for what we do with chirohustle, is getting people onto our show to be able to share their message. So thank you for being on today. There's so many things I want to talk to you about. I know that when you sent over your one sheet, you said something about psilocybin. Tell us more about that before we wrap up today.
Yeah, certainly. So psilocybin is a psychedelic mushroom, and taken in small doses, it can be extremely powerful. So that's called a microdose. You take about a 20th of the dose, which is, depending on the individual, anywhere from 100 to 250 milligrams. And psilocybin has been shown to, really expand human consciousness. In the small dose, a microdose, you only take it twice a week. So it's a very small amount, and you spread it out over a few days. So Mondays and Thursdays, for example, you can add it, to your morning elixir or coffee, or you can make it into a tea and or capsulize it. And what it does is it helps increase neurogenesis, and it creates a more hyper-connected brain. So it helps us form better ideas. It helps us in, it's pretty amazing. It helps our cognitive function. It's actually been shown to help reverse Alzheimer's by increasing neurogenesis. And if you take it in a higher amount, anywhere from 3 to 5 grams, which is called a hero's dose, then that's where we start to experience an ego death. And I call that the meet your maker dose. So we basically go into a different dimension of reality that's always existed, and we start to see elements of our life. We start to come face to face with challenges we might be facing. And the mushroom always has an elegant solution for you. So it's a powerful tool for healing trauma. It's a powerful tool for problem solving. It's a powerful tool for self-discovery. It's a powerful tool for improving autonomic tone. In fact, one of the first times my wife did psilocybin, we wear an Oura ring. We've been wearing one for many years. Her HRV went up 20 points the next day. And that's unheard of. Like, very few therapies can have that much of a jump in your HRV. And it stayed up because it untangled some of the knots in her emotional, being. And so a lot of our stress in our body, our issues are in our tissues, because the issues remain unresolved. And some of them could be pre-verbal trauma. Some of them could be unconscious, traumas that we don't even know we have, that are holding us back from living our best life. So psilocybin can be used very respectfully and is a powerful form of medicine. It can also be used to as a microdose to show up just a little bit brighter, a little bit better in everything that you do.
Fascinating stuff. I'm learning too. And that's a part why I think that these conversations are so powerful, because, by osmosis and by connectivity, I get a chance to learn from the greats too. So I'm thrilled with the information you're sharing here. So I know we have a couple more questions, and I'm just going to, kind of go lightning round with you.
Sure.
But who are some of your heroes? Who got you to where you are today?
I have to give credit to Dr. James Chestnut. I would say I became a chiropractor after receiving his CD. It wasn't when I received my diploma, but it was when I received his CD from a colleague of mine who was replacing me as an associate at the job I was working at. And he said, "Hey, Sachin, I heard you're into nutrition. I think you'll love this CD." And it was James Chestnut, one of his live lectures that he had purchased, and he gave it to me. I still have that CD. And I still listen to it to this day. So we're talking about 14 years ago, the CD was handed to me. And that's when I became a chiropractor, when I really understood the magnitude of how we could help people beyond, the physical realm of their being and go into the nutrition, the biochemistry, their mindset, their environment. And so I've met him once and have the selfie to prove it, but I'd love to sit with him for an hour. He's definitely a huge mentor of mine and somebody I still admire and look up to. And the other person would be Steve Jobs. I think getting into his mind would be pretty fascinating, just to see the way he thinks. And as somebody who's trying to, become a better messenger of what we do, I think he was one of the most brilliant marketers that ever lived. So learning from him, I think, would be pretty awesome as well.
I think both those are, really well-rounded people that people can learn from. It doesn't matter if you're a chiropractic or not, but I'm curious to get a copy of that recording from James Chestnut, because Luke and I, we've been advocates of the profession for well over a decade now, and I've been working in a clinic when I started out for 6 years. I started a small little marketing company where I scheduled a bunch of people. Then Luke and I made a chiropractic film, and we created this podcast, then another chiropractic film. And I first saw James in a movie called Doctored.
Yep.
And that really woke me up a little bit to the eat well, think well, move well revolution. Mm-hmm. So I think it's powerful, man. I think that guy, he knows his stuff, and he's also Canadian, right?
Yeah, he's based out of Victoria. Awesome guy.
So as we start to wrap up this episode, maybe you can just share with us a quick miracle story that you've had happen in your office.
Oh man, that's a tough one because there's so many. One of the stories that really comes to mind, I think this is a combination of, really everything that we do, is my colleague, Dr. Jared. When he first joined my practice, I was working as an associate, and he was positioned to come in and be my co-associate in this practice. And when I first met him, he was strictly doing structural care. He had a personal training background. He was a chiropractor just about to graduate. And I introduced him to functional medicine in combination with structural care. And his wife was told she'd never get pregnant. And by working on her digestive system, getting her, adjusted, getting her body functioning the way it was supposed to, within 2 months, she actually got pregnant. And so to me, that was such an amazing miracle, because now they have two young children, and they were told they would never have kids. So I always remember that story because it's somebody that's near and dear to me, a dear friend of mine, and was a business partner at one point of mine who's done some amazing work in the world. And I love seeing his 2 kids because they're a miracle that was delivered to us courtesy of chiropractic and really taking a holistic approach to people's health.
Amen.
And so now, as we come to a close for this episode, what are some web sources or websites and resources you could give our listeners to check out?
Yeah, I'd invite people to go to a couple of websites. One is 30and30.org, 30in30.org. And it's basically 30 days of free health and wellness tips, practical things that you can do from the comfort of your home to become your own best doctor. And then if you're a practitioner who's interested in learning more about what we do, then you can certainly go to perfectpracticementorship.com, and you can learn more about how we help our practitioners build their practices and share with them an entire A to Z turnkey formula of running a functional medicine-based clinic.
Awesome. Well, I'd like to thank you for being our guest today. It sounds like Jim's been trying to get you on for a while, so I was happy to have you on our show today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, gentlemen. This was fun, and looking forward to, helping spread the message. What you're doing is very necessary, and more people need to hear about how they can be healthy, happy, and whole again.
Well, Dr. Sachin, thank you for being episode 356. It was quite an honor to finally connect with you and to share your story and your message and the things that you work on and the things you love. And I'm really excited for what's next. And I just wanted to send you off with a thank you and have a great evening with your family. And we'll catch you next time.
Thank you so much, guys. Lots of love. Have an awesome day.
You too. See ya.
Appreciate you. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.